the level of damage that the trophy did to the wall, that he was actually trying to kill you.
Yeah, if he would have hit me, he would have killed me. Because like I say, it went about that deep into the solid wall. And if he'd have hit me in my head, he'd have crushed my skull. I know without a shadow of a doubt.
And why do you think that he had this much anger towards you over you were doing? I mean, I think what you did was serious, but you're a kid,
Right. I don't know. Hey, he probably, I don't know. He didn't know me. I didn't know him. He probably didn't even, looked at me as I was his son for real. So, hey, as a young child, I was like, hey, you trying to hurt me? That's all I know. I gotta go.
And where was the 17-year-old stepson that from his new wife at during all of this drama?
You know what? I can't even remember because he had been missing for a couple of weeks. I don't know if he went to stay with the girl he was messing with, or I can't really remember back then what had happened. But yeah, he had been missing for a couple of weeks.
And you and him didn't really hit it off because he wasn't a street cat at all. Huh?
Yeah, he was a straight up lame, homie. You know what I'm saying? Here it is. I'm 13. He's 17. And he was slow as molasses to me, you know what I'm saying? The way I talk, walk, look, act, he couldn't understand nothing. You got to look how sedity and prestigious people were in Inglewood back in the 70s versus coming from that east side. So, he couldn't understand nothing I was talking about, and I didn't want to understand nothing he was talking about.
Okay. So then eventually, I guess you bolted out of there and went straight to the east side to your mom's place.
Yeah, I made it back to mom.
And then a few days later, you decided to get revenge.
Yeah, I came back and did the ooh-wee with it. There was nowhere in the world I could have explained the level of damage I did to this man's house. I literally destroyed it from the rooter to the tutor, from the ground up. I tore the man's house up. If it would have been me at that time, I would have killed me. You know what I'm saying? Because I destroyed his house to the point to where he probably should have had to move. But he had a little money, so he did what he did. But he shot at me. When I ran through the house, he shot at me, and I never went back. I got so deep into it. I'm like Whistler, looking for something else to tear up. I tore up so much, I don't even see nothing else to tear up. And he had walked in, and he's standing in the doorway in shock, and he looking. And when I was walking from the hallway going toward the kitchen, and I heard him growl like a bear. And I looked, it was him. Oh, shoot, it's time to go. Through the patio door, I flew. He was never in my life. I was never in his. I might have been a stranger to him because he was sure a stranger to me. Didn't see him for, several years later.
Okay, so let's go back to the beginning because before you really got active in the streets, you talked about looking up to your cousin Walter. Mm-hmm. When you was young with your cousin Walter, you wasn't from Avalon, you wasn't from Fire Trade, but he was from Spooktown, right? Where was he from?
He was from Spooktown in Compton.
Okay, how did you guys link up? Him living way over there and you living over here?
The family at that time was close knit, so he would always come over to my mom's house, and when he would come over, at the time my other cousin Craig was living with us. And he would always tell me and Craig, when y'all get older, y'all gonna be Crips. And at the time, I didn't know what a Crip was. I didn't know what he was talking about. And but now with me idolizing him, and he telling me this is what I was gonna be when I got older. In my mind, okay, no matter what, I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna become it when I get old enough.
And how many years older was cousin Walter of you?
Oh, let me see. Walter had to been at least, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. At least 7 or 8 years older than me.
Okay. Is he still around today?
No, he passed away.
Okay. So he would have been considered probably a first generation Spooktown then.
Yeah.
He would have been in his 60s by now, right?
Right, yeah. He was there when the Crips started.
Okay. So what was it about Walter that you were you admired so much?
You know what I'm saying? The homie, my cousin, he was big, he was fast, and whenever he came around, everybody in the neighborhood was in awe of him. They was like, they would be like, man, Tony cousin Walter here, you know what I'm saying? And it's like because he walked on water, it's like, I started walking on water too whenever he was around. And he was just cool. He showed me, how to smoke weed, which I don't, but I hit my first joint with him, and I shot my first gun because of him, and he just showed me everything. All the girls liked him, and I'm like, yeah, I want to be him when I get older.
And were you ever thinking about, I want to be from Spooktown just like him?
Nah, I didn't even really know what Compton was at the time. All I know, he had a saying, and he never would say Spooktown. He would always say, he was a Compton Crip. And, you know, I'm like, okay, well, Compton Crip then, all right? But I never wanted to, you know, go that route. All I knew was I had to become a Crip because he told me to.
When did you first started hearing about Phi Tre Avalon? How old were you?
Oh, shoot, when I was in elementary school. Let me see. How old are you when you're in elementary school?
Well, kindergarten's 5.
I would say
grade,
like around the
6.
third and fourth grade, you know, because, you know, I went to 49th Street Elementary School. And you know, that's right there in the middle of Phi Tre hood. Everything around here is, at that time was like Phi Tre, you know, but you would hear like more like Avalon Crip at the time, you know, Avalon Crips. So, you know, coming up, you know, all the homies who went to school with me, that's what they became. All their older brothers, sisters, cousins, you know what I'm saying? They were from Avalon. So, you know, it was just a process, natural process.
So around the 3rd or 4th grade, you started hearing about Avalon Crip.
Right.
It wasn't Gangster Crip at that time?
No, the gangster wasn't on it at that time.
Okay. And when you first started hearing about it, so when you was at 49th Street Elementary, were you there with a whole bunch of future Avalon Crips that
everybody
were like you?
Everybody who was there with me it became Avalon. You know, we had other homies that some were a set we had out at that time called Bumper Jack Crip. You know, 5/8 Bumper Jack. Some of the homies became Bumper Jack Crips, but they eventually turned Phi Tre too, though. So everybody, eventually became Phi Tre Avalon.
Who was a part of the Bumper Jack Crips?
That was there with me at that time. You had like the homie Big Boy. You know, Big Boy been missing for a minute. Insane Mo, a few homies, you know.
And they were off of 58th?
No. Bumper Jacks were on 51st.
Oh, okay.
No, when I said 5/8, like 5 ACE.
Oh, 5-1.
Yeah, 5-1, 51st Street.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. Very old set.
Do you remember what year that was for Bumper Jack?
The Bumper Jacks was out exactly when they came out. I couldn't tell you, but they're a very old set. They was out, you know, back during the time when the Avalons and stuff was coming out too.
Okay. So then at what point do you decide that you're about to become Avalon?
Moving on toward like the 6th and 7th grade, you know, all the homies that we went to school with, you would talk about it because a lot of homies say I didn't have brothers from the set, but a lot of other homies had brothers and older sisters and cousins and stuff from the set. So, you know, it was a pass of it was a rite of passage. You know, we couldn't wait. We would talk about it, man. I can't wait till I become a Crip. I can't wait. You know what I'm saying? And you know, as little kids, we might start writing it with markers and, you know, trying to write stuff that we seen on the walls already, not being really a part of anything, but, you know, just writing it because we seen it or older cousins and brothers and sisters was writing it.
Now, did you grow up with the knowledge of how the businessmen used to occupy this area of South Park, and that a lot of the first generation Avalons are like the sons and nephews and kids of the businessmen?
I didn't learn that till I got older. You know what I'm saying? When I was a young kid, I didn't really pay a lot of attention to. I seen them old dudes. They would be in the park, and they used to be in the parking lot of the liquor store on 51st a lot. I just thought it was a bunch of old dudes hanging around. You know what I'm saying? I'd heard the term businessmen, but I didn't really know exactly what it was about. You know what I'm saying? Only thing was on my mind was Crip.
And I guess a lot of teenagers ain't really talking about that stuff, right? It's not.
Yeah, it wasn't. You know, they wasn't. They was on the downswing. By the time I was coming about, they was on the downswing.
Yeah. Did you ever cross paths with one of the OG businessmen named Raymond Suge Wright?
Yeah, that's the big homie.
Yeah,
that's the G homie.
I think he's probably one of the oldest businessmen at that time. He's resting right now, but he used to just be at the park, right?
All the time. You know, we could consider him from the set too. He could say businessman or he could say Avalon. You know what I'm saying? We consider him a big homie. You know what I'm saying? Like his sons, they from the set. They from Avalon.
Yeah, it's interesting that relationship, that connection, because the businessmen, according to Suge, the businessmen go back to 1949.
Yeah, they old.
Yeah,
we call ourselves the descendants of them. You know, we come from them. You know, our hood was their hood first, and then when the Crippin' started coming about, you know, we just took it over and just started doing what we do.
So then, what year would you consider yourself a full-fledged Avalon Crip?
I would say leaving out of 78, going into 79.
And leaving out of 78, was the Gangster Crip on it yet?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you know how that went from Avalon Crip to Avalon Gangster